Hey, how about you, everybody? Welcome into this week's edition of the Auburn Live Recruiting Show. Today is October 28th. It is October 28th, 2022. I'm your host, Jeffrey Lee, Senior Recruiting Editor for Auburn Live on 3. If you're not a member of that site, you're absolutely missing out. My goodness, you're missing out. A lot going on these days at Auburn. As Keith would say, never a dull moment. On the plains, how the plains burns. We will get into most of it, as much as we can at least today. I am joined, as I always am, by Mr. Keith Nieper, Mr. Cole Pinkston, and Mr. Jhead, fellas. How you doing?
Pretty good.
Doing good, Jay Lee. Yeah, your opening of As the Barn Burns was
As the Barn Burns. There you go.
It was probably pretty accurate, but excited to be on with you guys today.
It is going. I see Jhead's got his Auburn Live shirt on.
Yeah.
All right.
Nice.
Courtesy of Miss Jessica Andrus, realtor at eXp Realty. Looking for a home in Auburn, Opelika, Lee County? Give Jessica Andrus a call. She's fantastic. 5-star realtor, man. Trust me. 334-704-4442. Residential investment property. She does a lot of investment properties for out-of-town buyers. It's pretty good little deal going on, man. Whew. Got some investors looking in Auburn. Perfect place to invest. Give Jessica a call. She's got you covered. 334-704-4442. Fellas, this week we've got some recruiting. Home game against Arkansas, 11 a.m. Central Time, Saturday. And we have 2 official visitors confirmed. We're talking football. We might touch on basketball. Of course, you got the 5-star center, Bayfall, coming in as well on an official visit. But football first. Tyler Scott, Colton Hood, both top defensive back, cornerback targets coming in for official visits. You've got some big-time unofficial visits in Quay Russaw, James Smith expected back. To me, the biggest one is Jeremiah Cobb, who's fresh off a Georgia offer, getting his ass back on campus Saturday. And then you got Darren Reed coming in. Ezra Odenjor is coming. He's a newly offered edge guy from Alatoona, Georgia. And Terrence Love and J.C. Hart's coming in as well. But and maybe Darren Reed, Keith?
Yeah, I mean, he said that we think Auburn, or we know Auburn expects him there. He just said he might be there, but that means he's probably going to be there.
Yeah, for a guy committed to another school, that's probably a good sign.
Yeah, they don't like to say that they're coming sometimes. But no, that was, I talked to him last night. That was an interesting interview. That was just after a game, but he wasn't like – he's like, there are no real contenders. I'm locked in with LSU, so who knows,
and I try to put myself in our other fans. Let's say Auburn had a commitment from a guy from New Orleans, and he was going to his 4th LSU game this weekend. I'd probably be concerned if I was an Auburn fan.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, and it may not be nothing. Well, who knows? But certainly looks intriguing for Auburn that Darren Reed's coming back for his 4th game. Quay Russaw, James Smith, the 5-star duo from Montgomery, coming back for their 4th game. Now, given there's not a lot of options out there this week as far as close games for them, proximity-wise. But, shit, man, getting them back on campus for a 4th time, never a bad deal.
No.
And
one thing about Darren Reed – oh, sorry, Jeff, if I could just –
roll on.
That, LSU's got 4 they've got 4 defensive line commits. I guess 2 of them are edges. I mean, I consider edges defensive linemen. But anyway, it reads the lowest ranked one, I believe. Not in the on-3 rankings, but in the on-3 consensus. So, I don't know. At Auburn, he'd be the highest ranked guy. So, we're still following it closely. I mean, I'm not suggesting that he's not interested. It's just he was a little wishy-washy last night. But it should be pointed out, this would be his 4th Auburn home game if he makes it Saturday.
Auburn went and saw him last week during the bye week, if I'm not mistaken, with LSU on a bye week this week. LSU came and saw him. I think they played last night.
Correct.
But getting him back on campus, Jeremiah Cobb, the 2 5-stars, the new edge, and then, of course, the 2 official visitors. Tyler Scott was an early eval for Auburn. I remember a lot of fans freaking out when Auburn offered this Arkansas State commitment. Oh, my God, what are we – surely we can beat Arkansas State. Well, Alabama, Tennessee, they've all gotten involved, kind of like the Arion Carter recruitment. So Tyler Scott definitely at one point had him, I think, at 75%. We all thought he was going to be Auburn's next commitment, or most of us did. I thought he would be Auburn's next commitment, but all these other schools have gotten involved. Colton Hood, the Auburn legacy, committed to Michigan State, and Auburn's doing what they can to poach that Michigan State class. They've already flipped Clay Whedon, working on Colton Hood, Stanton Ramil. So a lot going on there. Cole, you were in Georgia. I think you hit up both of those guys yesterday, did you not?
Yeah, I did. Wednesday. I saw Eagles Landing, 2 guys there, DJ Chester, offensive lineman, and Michigan State defensive back commit Colton Hood. And then I went and saw Tyler Scott after that.
Who do you think Auburn has a better chance with entering the weekend?
Colton Hood.
Not even close.
I feel pretty confident in saying Hood is probably Auburn's best shot of those 3. I think Tyler Scott is very interested in Auburn. He's obviously scheduled his official visit to Auburn first for a reason. They were kind of on him before some of these other bigger schools. I got the offer out before them. Because when I went to talk to him the first time, I think it was Missouri and Auburn that were the only 2 SEC schools. Maybe Mississippi State was talking to him too, but
State and Vanderbilt, I think, Cole.
Vanderbilt too, yeah. So Auburn kind of got ahead on that one, and that's why he's going to take his first one there. And he's already been once. He came to the Penn State game for an unofficial visit. So this is his second one, and I think Auburn's got a good chance to sort of get his attention again, but you have to remember, this guy's getting so many offers so quick, and he's like, I think his head's probably spinning a little bit. He doesn't seem like it. He seems pretty grounded to me, but he does want to sign in December. So even though things are happening fast, he's going to have to figure it out fast too. So there you go.
You're talking about Tyler Scott?
Tyler Scott, yes.
Okay. Hey, man, as far as Colton Hood, I remember Rogic being like, 5'8", right? I mean, he was a stud, don't get me wrong, but he was vertically challenged.
Yeah.
What's Colton look like on the hoof?
About the same.
Okay.
He's not much taller than me, which is not saying a lot. But, he's kind of you almost use the term wiry. He looks a little bit like he's still kind of skinny in a way, but he's not. He's very muscular at the same time, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So if you watch his film, he plays quarterback, he plays receiver, he plays DB, and actually Michigan, who has had some really good recruiting success here lately, was at his game to see DJ Chester in action because they're big on DJ Chester and he's actually big on them. And saw Colton Hood and goes, "Who's that guy?" Or knew who he was and said, "Man, he looks different. He looks different than I remember him." So now Michigan's really in it too with Colton Hood. He told me that the other day, and they were just blown away by that game he had, and like, man, he can do everything. He can do everything.
Yeah. I mean, he's a lot like Roger McCreary, Cole, in that he plays a lot of different positions in high school. He's not dedicated to any one position. And I think the thought process of a lot of schools, I've kind of sniffed around here, is that if you get him dedicated at one spot in a defensive back room and he can concentrate there, his athleticism is going to allow his ceiling to be higher than some of the other guys because he's asked to do so much in high school. But I think he compares probably pretty well to his uncle, Roderick. Sure. I mean, I think he's got SEC starter potential and probably in our current defense slots in real well at the nickel, I would think. I think that's probably a position that he could play from day one and maybe move outside like a field corner or something of that nature.
Yeah, and I think he's he might be a guy that needs to get in the weight room a little bit and start to bulk up some. But the athleticism, the tools, all of that stuff, the football instincts. I mean, you don't put a guy at quarterback if he doesn't understand the game. He's got all that. He's definitely got all that.
And you mentioned DJ Chester. I could probably make a case that he might be Auburn's top offensive lineman on the board. Kind of a versatile guy. What are you feeling there? Is he any chance he comes this weekend? I haven't heard his name.
No, he will be at Michigan this weekend.
Did you say that earlier?
No, I didn't.
Okay,
but Michigan is on him very hard, and he is. I mean,
official visit.
It is an official visit, and it's the second one up there. And just hearing him talk both times, when I saw him about a month ago, it seems like Michigan's really in this to me. I mean, they have really, intrigued him. But so is Auburn. I really feel like Auburn's in that top 3 just from talking to him both times. He's always got a lot of good things to say about Auburn. He told me, like, look, one of the main reasons I want to get back is I got to go to Timmer's Corner. I have to go there. I got to get some lemonade, because they brought him lemonade or whatever on the OV. So he has taken an official visit to Auburn back in June, I think it was. So anything now is unofficial to Auburn. But he said, I am going to get back to a game this year. So
I got to get back to Tumors because, man, I had that lemonade years ago, dude. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. Like,
whelmed, right?
You ought to taste my daddy's lemonade now. Hey, he can make some lemonade. I mean, we talking.
Lemonade doesn't count, Jeffrey.
Great day.
What about with DJ Chester? Who's the other team, Cole? Is it Florida State? Who are the other main players?
I think it was perceived to be LSU for a while. A lot of people
that's right. LSU, Michigan. But I think he did just visit FSU. I do know that
he did, and that's what I was going to say. I think Florida State is really in it. But like I said, before we started recording, I think that he hasn't really narrowed down things all that much yet. He just has a lot of schools he likes, and maybe he has, and he keeps it hidden pretty well. But just from talking to him, to me, the top schools I would say would be like LSU, Florida State, Michigan, probably Auburn.
What about Ole Miss?
He didn't mention Ole Miss.
Okay,
although I do know he's been to Ole Miss. And again, like I said, he's got a lot of schools in the mix there, so maybe he just forgot to mention them. But
sure.
Keith, what's your take on switching gears here a little bit? Jeremiah Cobb expected back this weekend. Georgia offered him, I think, on Monday. You've been saying for a while to keep an eye on this, that Cobb was the most likely guy to be poached from this class. Maybe even the only poach worthy, besides Janoris Wilson. I keep forgetting Janoris, but Georgia comes in, does exactly what you thought they were going to do, offers. You talked a little bit about this on the modcast, I think. Maybe it was the Inside the 20 earlier this week. But your thoughts on Jeremiah Cobb, his commitment to Auburn, and where Georgia maybe views him on their board?
Well, I think Georgia's top running back – well, first of all, they already have one running back committed. But I think their top remaining target's Justice Haynes, the Georgia legacy from the Atlanta area. But he's committed to Bama right now, and I know that people – at Bama, I'm not getting this from talking to people at Bama. I'm talking to people that cover Bama, but they seem to feel pretty good about keeping him in the fold. They think they're going to keep Haynes. So if that's the if Georgia thinks that they can flip him, then he would be their top target. But if they feel like, okay, it's not going to work out with this guy, then there's Cobb. Then you have to start watching Cobb, because what we know, a few things. He's super close. Cobb is to Cadillac Williams. Well, we don't know what Cadillac Williams' future is going to be. We don't know what Brian Harson's future is going to be. Now, theoretically, we don't know what Del McGee's future is going to be. Maybe he gets a promotion and lands somewhere else. But as of right now, he's the main guy, the main recruiter, and the running backs coach at Georgia. And they've had a lot of success putting running backs in the league over the last decade. As much success, if not more, I guess them and Bama probably the best. But over the last decade. But again, if they lock in on him, you have to think it's going to get interesting. And we've heard that from multiple people. He's probably trying to process it all. But if one of the main reasons you're going to Auburn is, well, you got proximity to home. He really does love Auburn, but it's that relationship with Cadillac. And if Cadillac's not going to be there, that changes things. And it may change things. Look, if Georgia goes all in on the guy, it may change things anyway. It's – he's got a lot to think about. The overall vision at Auburn, who's going to be in charge, who's going to be my running backs coach.
Offensive line.
Where's Auburn headed? Offensive line. And where's Georgia headed too? Because, are they going to have the same offensive line? Look, Georgia doesn't have the offensive line they had 3 years ago. Mm-mm. So maybe that's an issue. I don't know. I'm just saying. Sure. So he's got to look at the overall picture. But I think there would be some confidence at Georgia from what I'm told.
Sure. Understand.
Not like overconfident, like, hey, we're definitely getting this guy, but a feeling that they would have a real shot to flip him.
Fair enough. Jhead, I thought you made a fantastic point in the Georgia offered Cobb. Or you said, worst case scenario here is, Georgia gets Auburn's top 2 running backs. Keith mentioned they've already got Roger Robinson committed, and here they are coming after Jeremiah Cobb. It'd be pretty painful.
Absolute death.
Now, Auburn's already held off Clemson once.
Yes.
And now they haven't put the running backs in the league that Georgia has, but that's notable too. Give them a little credit there.
Well, and what I will say is, Keith, when we held off Clemson before, it was a much different situation, or it felt much different at the beginning of the season when there was a lot of hope to be sold. I think now, as the season starts to dwindle on, that hope seems to be not as much present, I would say, amongst the fan base particularly, but it's hard for recruits right now. I mean, I'm sure Dale McGee is lighting this kid's phone up and saying, hey, just, hear us out. You know what I mean? Stick with us. Look at the continuity that Georgia has. Look at the situation that's going on at Auburn. There's no guarantees there for you at Auburn. Just hang with us. Whether they are on all cylinders going after Cobb right now or not, I think you have to be very aware of Georgia's presence on the recruiting trail and what they've been able to accomplish. Now, the one thing I do think that we have going for us, and Cole's hit this from the very beginning, Cobb is an Auburn-type kid. You know what I mean? Like, he has really bought into the university, and that if Cadillac Williams is retained, should we have a coaching change, I would feel very confident about Auburn's chances of keeping Jeremiah Cobb. But that's a big if because, you just don't know right now. You have no clue who the head coach is going to be and what coaches they're going to want to have on staff. But you're right. That relationship with Carnell Williams is massive in this recruitment. The relationship that the kid has with Auburn, I think he's been to Auburn more than any other place. Okay. And as a kid, I can remember being 18 and stepping foot on Auburn's campus and what that was like for me, and to kind of start to build a relationship with the campus as well. Now, they have other things to evaluate than I did. I didn't have a football scholarship from Georgia to contemplate over. But I do think that familiarity will play a part in this. I think NIL will play a part in this, and relationships will play a part in this. And you did make an interesting point, Keith. I do think that Dale McGee is on the radar for several schools, whether they be G5 or Power 5, with Georgia Tech's opening, where Dale's in play and could know, and that linchpin that's been just a hammer recruiter for them, he could be out the door. So that may give Auburn some wiggle there as far as that's concerned.
So you've got, and we can't stay in the Montgomery area, Quay Rusall, James Smith. Keith, your thoughts on should this tickle fans' fancies?
I mean, they're coming back. I mean, it's never a bad thing, I don't think. Even if Auburn plays poorly, they're going to enjoy themselves. Here's the thing. Even if there's people who are like, well, what if there's only 70,000 people at the game? That's still a lot to an 18-year-old kid. I got news for people. 18-year-old kids aren't sitting there counting the attendance, okay? 65, 70, that's still a lot to those guys. But I'm sure they'd like to know who the coach is going to be moving forward. And this defensive line coach and this edge coach that they've gotten to know at Auburn, are they going to be around? So, but again, it's not a bad thing because if you get the more comfortable you get with a school, the more likely you'd still be willing to listen to a new group of coaches. I mean, hey, I really like the school. Let's see what these guys have to offer. Let's give them a shot. So it's under no metric is it possibly a bad thing. Even if even if Auburn gets run off the field, they're still going to enjoy the experience. They're high school kids. They love going to football games. Those guys are at a game just about every week. That tells me,
sure.
But I mean, where do things stand in their recruitment? I mean, everybody thinks it's Alabama, Auburn, and I guess Florida now, but I wouldn't imagine. It seems like it'd be Alabama or Auburn.
It's hard to imagine Auburn beating Alabama for 2 in-state 5-star kids,
especially since Bama has already not gotten Peter Woods, who maybe they'll flip. I don't know, but who's committed to Clemson. Mm-hmm. Kelby Collins committed to Florida. I don't know how hard they went after Keldrick Falk, but he's committed to FSU. They do have Yanzi Pierre. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. But in-state-wise, they didn't get all the guys. That makes you think they're going to get somebody.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so the 2 best guys they're going to let get away, they haven't historically, not since I've been covering Auburn.
No.
But it doesn't add up. Now, what we don't know is who's going to have the better NIL deal. And it's not going to be all that either, but there's other – look, they want to win. They want to play in good bowl games. They want to be parts of a really good class, not just 2 good guys 2 great players in an average class. They don't want that. They want to be developed, and they want to have competitive practices. They know that development comes by not dominating everybody in practice, but by being with other special athletes. So NIL is just one piece of the puzzle, but I suspect it's going to be a significant piece. And we know Auburn, look, in that area, we know Auburn is going to be okay.
Yeah.
Okay, but by all indications. But would that be enough to push Auburn over the top? We don't know. And again, we don't know who the coach is going to be. We don't, I don't know. A new coach may come in and say, I'm not sure these guys are as valuable as the other staff thought. Or he might say they're more valuable, got to figure some more NIL stuff out. So I don't know. There's so many unknowns, but as long as they keep visiting, that means they're interested, Yeah. But it is close to home, and they're doing their due diligence. I don't blame them. They're having fun, and but they don't. We often say kids are having a real fun with recruitment. I think these guys are having fun going to games. I don't think they're playing with schools or anything like that. They don't strike me as those kinds of kids. They're having a good time going to schools. They love football. They're getting to go with their friends from Montgomery and Madhouse training, and they're having a blast. And but I don't feel like they're taking advantage of schools' generosity or anything like that. I think they have genuine interest in these places they're going to see.
Pretty cool kids too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Do you guys get the feel that they're legitimately considering? I mean, they've been to several places, but it feels like they're legitimately considering 3 places, and that's Alabama, Florida, Auburn. That's the feel that I get.
Florida having replaced Georgia now, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think Florida may have jumped over Georgia personally. Just a gut feeling. I don't have intel on that other than me talking to them and them telling me Florida, hey, is surging up here.
Well, and Billy Napier's got a lot to sell, similar to Auburn in the playing time aspect of things. He's, resetting an entire program. It's a rebuild down there. And they're selling the NFL development side of things coming from that Alabama tree that he's been on and everything else, and what they're starting at Florida. And you can get on the field for us a lot faster with the same type of development program that they have at Alabama. So, and Georgia's so loaded at the edge in the defensive tackle position. I mean, they just have an embarrassment of riches. And it's easy for a school like Florida to point at them and say, hey, look, man, you may get on the field for them as a freshman. You will definitely get on the field for us as a freshman. And Auburn's able to have the same pitch. So I think that's probably what's kept us around to a degree.
And I've heard that, and heard isn't always fact, but we've heard that those 3 schools have recruited both of those kids harder than maybe Georgia has.
Okay. Not
to say Georgia's not, but they've, some schools recruit you harder than others.
Yeah.
Different needs, right?
I agree.
Go ahead, Cole.
I agree, Keith. Though I think those are guys that if it's the weekend they want to be at a football game, and if they don't have something scheduled like an official visit or something, all they got to do is ride up to Auburn. So, and Quay Rustal's got a lot of family that was Auburn fans. And I'm not going to say he's an Auburn fan, but he definitely has familiarity, and he wants to go, see what's going on.
Yeah, they definitely have genuine interest. It's all going to come down to what's the coaching situation at Auburn. And a month ago, I remember saying, "Hey, man, holler back at the end of October. I think we'll know a lot more." Well, it's the end of October, and we don't know shit more. It looks like. I'm stepping back and looking. It looks like Auburn is looking to get the AD in place before they're making any moves on a potential coaching change. Jhead, what's the latest with the AD search? What the hell's going on?
Okay, so all right, I hate this phrase, but there's a lot to unpack here. So let's walk it back about 2 weeks, okay? So around the 14th or 16th of October or so, we had 4 known candidates that all had interviews with our president over Zoom. And they were going to progress and move into in-person interviews. And I believe that that's transpired. So the end of those candidates that we're talking about right now were John Hartwell, Rich McGlynn, Rick George, and David Benedict. And then out of the blue, as we had talked about, that we thought there might be one of these, Eddie Nunez kind of popped in there. And now it's moved to the point where I feel you have 3 candidates. You may have a 4th that's in there. I can't confirm this mystery candidate. I've heard that rumor from several people, but I think the 3 people that you need to watch as of today are Eddie Nunez, John Hartwell, and Rich McGlynn, the interim AD. Okay. I do believe that in-person interviews are ongoing. I can't tell you exactly what day those are happening and how all that's transpiring, but I feel as though we're going to have a decision next week. Now, let me say, there was some mixed thought as to, did you want the interim to part ways with Coach Harsin and then clear the path for the new AD? I think the president came to the resolution of, I want my AD in place to make a decision or an assessment of Coach Harsin and this staff. He's going to give him a couple of weeks to make that assessment. Once he does that, they're going to make a decision as to whether or not he would be retained, which I think is less than 5% likely at this point, and or move in a different direction. And that would occur at the eve of or after the Iron Bowl has occurred. You may even get an announcement like Will Muschamp a few years ago at Keith's alma mater at Florida, where the week going in, the coach knows what the situation is. They make an announcement, and there's an official parting of ways the day afterwards. So I think that's how the situation is going to play out. And I will say this. I know that the fan base is completely and utterly just frustrated right now.
Broken.
Every little thing that happens within the program, whether it's a player that's transferring that's down the depth chart or what have you, people are just incensed, and they're looking for anything to, to throw stones right now. I would say that you have a president that's very dedicated to doing this the right way. And they're trying to eliminate by firing a coach and having various boosters making cold calls to other coaches and everything else. They want a consensus build with an athletic director in place to drive this search, okay? They don't want various people talking to various candidates. They want one center person. Now, they're going to collectively share ideas, but they want the focal point to be and the official contact to be through one person. And so that is why it is so important to have an AD in place. And I think we'll have that next week, and things will start to kind of finally progress. But everything that I know to this point is they are trying to do this right. They're trying not to have a Jetgate situation. They are trying to get away from some of the buffoonery that we have had in the past with some of, say, our interested parties, that have done things that, you wish wouldn't happen in an official search type situation or an assessment of a head coach.
Whew. Lot to going on in the next month. That would the timeline kind of lines up there,
right?
The timeline kind of, and I would want to emphasize that all these transfers, they cannot officially enter the transfer portal until December the 5th?
5th,
yes.
I think.
So, and like you said, less than 5% chance Brian Harson's the coach at that point. I think we all agree on that. I think everybody, probably Brian Harsin, would agree on that too. So these guys can't enter the transfer portal until December the 5th. So we expect there to be some word before then on whether or not Brian Harsin will be the coach, which could ultimately change every one of these decisions.
Sure. And regardless of who they bring in, you're going to have roster turnover.
Sure.
You're going to have guys that are either bought into the previous staff or just looking for new opportunities, or guys are assessed as not necessarily having the same value on this team. So you're going to have attrition. Some of that's needed and healthy so that guys can bring in their own guys. Some of that is obviously just a byproduct of the system and the world we live in today in the one-time transfer world. I mean, it has made free agency. They finally put windows on it, which is fantastic, but it's still pretty much unlimited free agency, which is a really rough thing when you're trying to construct and build a roster. Now, one thing I will say, I know one other thing is that the fan base wants to see a head coach, like somebody named, anybody named, so we have a guy in place for recruiting from day one. I do think decision makers at Auburn are comfortable in this, that we are a helmet school and we are going to reset the market when and if we have an opening. So we're not overly worried with the other schools that are out there right now. I mean, who are we worried about? Nebraska? We've got different needs than Nebraska has, different boosters. Different, geography and regional recruiting footprint. We're not worried about Georgia Tech, okay? We can outpay any coach that Georgia Tech may or may not be interested in. So Auburn right now, all the jobs that are going to come open, unless Michigan opens, because Jim Harbaugh takes an NFL job, and that's floating out there, you know what I mean? And I don't think it will. I don't think it won't float out there until Harbaugh says 100% he's going to come back to Michigan. But Auburn is the one job that's potentially coming open that completely resets the market. You had 3 of those last year in LSU, USC, and Miami. Auburn's the only one that's a helmet school that's coming open this year. So just relax, guys. Get an AD in place. Let's do this the right way and figure out who everybody can buy into, because getting that coach right is the most important thing. Yes, we need to salvage a recruiting class, but making sure that you got the right guy that everybody can buy into and give time to this time is equally important, if not more important.
I thought there was an interesting tweet this morning from On3 CEO Shannon Terry. We're talking about rebuilding this roster as quickly as possible. Thank goodness for the transfer portal these days for schools like Auburn. But his Shannon's tweet was, quote, from one of the most connected people in college sports, quote, portal NIL will dominate December like an old school February signing day. Will be the wildest December ever because of portal transfers. They've all heard about what these freshmen are getting paid. And Auburn appears to have NIL in order. Brett Whiteside, Brett Burkett done a fantastic job from all we've heard. Mm-hmm. Having Auburn ready to capitalize on one of the most wildest Decembers ever. I mean, you're going to have players hitting that portal. Auburn's going to have to sign a lot of guys from that portal to be competitive next year, because that roster next year looks even worse than it does this year. And Keith says, let me get in here real quick.
Yeah, well, that also means when you hire somebody, they've got to do a complete roster evaluation as quickly as possible. I mean, it's still going to be a lot of work ahead. Ain't going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. And Auburn's also not only going to need starters. Are they even if they find 10 starters in the portal, what's the depth situation going to be next year if a lot of these guys transfer out? So I mean, I think Auburn's still in a precarious position. I think the goal would be to get a little more competitive next year, and then hopefully year 2 and 3 you're really moving in the right direction. Positive signs, strong recruiting classes, on-field performances, stuff like that. But again, if you hire a guy, let's say December 5th. How long does it take to go over your roster?
I'd bet that they've gone over the roster before they even get there, Keith. I think anybody that's interested in that job is probably doing a roster.
I would hope so. Yeah. I don't believe that happened last time.
Oh, well, I think a lot of things didn't happen last time, Keith.
Well, I'm not knocking the coach. I'm saying that a guy emerged as a candidate, and the next day he was a coach. I mean, and it was a holiday season. Now, what you do have is now we don't know whether a guy like Drew Fabianich is going to be retained. But we know that when Drew Fabianich interviewed for the Auburn job, he was told to evaluate the entire roster and let the head coach know what he thought of everybody. So he still has those notes. So there you go. There's a guy that could have an immense value to a new coach, even in the interim.
Yes.
Now, the question would be, does the new coach even know who he is? Does he know him enough to trust him? Is there going to be some blind faith? Is he going to have his own person working with Drew to utilize Drew's notes and go from there? But that window will open and close fast with those four guys.
Yeah, I agree.
In the future, when you have a coach in place, you hope to know that these guys are entering the portal before they enter the portal.
Yeah.
Not the moment they enter the portal.
Well, one program at Auburn that we don't have to worry about any of that is basketball.
No.
Bruce Pearl's got this program. I think Jay Phillips, our basketball correspondent, posted a week or two ago about Auburn players in the NBA, and there was a freaking long list, man. You could make a starting 5 NBA team with Auburn players.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
And they got another guy coming in this weekend, 5-star center Bay Fall, coming back for a second official visit. I think I mentioned him earlier in the show, but it was presumed Arkansas was the heavy favorite, and I truly believe that. But Auburn has stayed in the mix with him. Wes Flanagan, Bruce Pearl, he loves the Jabari Smith. What he did, the track at Auburn. Eric Musselman in Arkansas has not had the bigs, the success. I think Jalen Williams, who chose Arkansas over Auburn, ironically, it was his first real big. Comparably to Bay Fall, you got to like Auburn's chances simply because the kid is coming back this weekend. Early signing day is November 9th, so we're about a week and a half away. It's Wednesday week is when the early signing period is in basketball. Bay Fall will be signing then, so I expect him. He's already on campus. He arrived Thursday evening. We'll stay until Saturday after the football game, and then we'll have a decision shortly thereafter. And he's coming back for a reason. And you got to think that's a good sign for Auburn. I tell you what, another guy coming down for an unofficial visit. I'm going to have a Hoop Scoops up a little bit after we finish recording. Ty Price, who nobody really – he's a 2025 kid. He's from Kentucky. He's from Butler County, Kentucky. He's coming down for an unofficial visit. I think he's going to arriving today. He's going to have an overnight trip. Auburn certainly want to put eyes on him today, potentially could offer. This kid can shoot the lights out, man. I went and looked on his Twitter. That dude can shoot. I mean, he's got range, and he's got some skills, point guard. So I'll be curious to see what he looks like, see if Auburn offers, see if Auburn gets in the early mix for him this weekend. Bayfall, Ty Price coming down, and then, of course, I'm sure we'll have some other football visitors show up. You know, will Stanton come down? Will the other Langston Hughes kids come over with Terrence Love? Will anybody from the Atlanta area come? It's just difficult to get these guys, but an 11 o'clock kickoff is tough for recruiting, but you can still get guys within that 2 to 3 hour drive window. Yes. And as I told somebody, I said, shit, man, if you needed to, you could build a roster of 85 with guys within a 2 or 3 hour drive of Auburn.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean,
Pat Dye did pretty much throw in South Florida, cherry pick a couple here and there.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't think he started making his way down to South Florida till later in his tenure. I mean, I think his early 80s Auburn teams were Alabama, Georgia kids mixed in with the Panhandle of Florida and a handful from the SIP. You know what I mean? Like that was where he plucked from. And then once Miami started to make their rise, you know, and you realize the talent you can get down there from the skill positions, I think Pat decided, okay, I need to make my way down to South Florida. But, and on the basketball tip, a lot of buzz about Ace Bailey.
Ace Bailey, yes. 5-star power forward.
2024, yes.
God, he's a good-looking kid, man.
Yeah, dude. I mean, he's a legitimate stretch forward. Fits that mold that Bruce has had, whether it be Chimu Okeke, Jabari Smith, guys that have the ability to play, you know, outside and inside. Really versatile prospect. Really love where we sit with him right now.
Sure.
You know what I mean? I know that Justin Hokinson's put in a prediction for him as of today. I would probably say I don't blame him for doing that, given the confidence coming from the team. And Bayfall, like you talked about, I mean, he is a rim-running 5-man that is a huge defensive presence. You potentially lose Janai Broome after this season to the NBA. Well, guess what? You got Dylan Cardwell right after him with Bayfall coming in. That's another combination that just goes in line with a series of series of 5 guys, Walker Kessler and several others that have been just rim protectors that have completely changed Auburn's defense.
Yeah, I think you're not going out on a limb by saying I would put both of those guys in Auburn's projected class right now. 2023 for Bayfall, 2024 for Ace Bailey, and Cole. You remember those guys we saw on the field? What game was that? LSU, I believe. I mean, there was like 3 7-footers.
Yeah.
Well, Jhead, the name escapes me. What's that big kid, the big center? God,
Peyton Marshall.
Peyton Marshall, yes.
Well, I mean, I wrote him down as an offensive center. So.
I've already got to pick in him. I've already got to pick in for him to Auburn.
Peyton Marshall?
Yeah, that's the big kid from Marietta. Which school is he from?
Walt Wheeler? McEachern? Oh, he is?
Is he from McEachern as well?
Hold on.
Ace Bailey's from McEachern for sure.
Hold on, let's check here. Peyton Marshall, recruiting profile. He's from one of those schools in Atlanta. Marietta Kell.
Kell, yeah. Jonathan Dwyer.
Yeah, but I was at IMG doing some football stuff in Bradenton, and there were some basketball coaches there that day. And I happened to talk to one, and the guy said, yeah, I was going to go to Marietta to see this guy, but I was told to not waste my time. He's going to Auburn. So I'm not going to say what school he's from, but it was funny. That
2024 class has got potential to be the best in Auburn history. Auburn's got the numbers there. They've in on these guys. I mean, you get Ace Bailey, you get Peyton Marshall just to start your class of 2024. Great day in the morning, son. And great day in the morning does not mean a commitment tomorrow.
Peyton Buck was 7 foot and 310 pounds.
Yeah. I went up to Peyton.
Think about who the biggest dudes in the SEC were historic over the last 25 years, or 30 years, the Giants. I mean, Shaq was a big guy. But Shaq was pretty lean. Shaq was pretty lean in college. The guy that was bigger than Shaq was his teammate, Stanley Roberts.
Yes.
Stanley.
He probably, Shaq was like 250, 260. I mean, to see Shaq now and at the end of his NBA career, he was a little heavier, not fat, but heavier. But man, when he was like 19, that dude was running the floor. He could do it all.
Yeah, Dale Brown recruited some beast.
That weight, probably.
LSU had Hot Plate Williams.
Yeah, Sharif Abdul. No,
I'm thinking of guys that were wide.
Chris. I was thinking
Chris
of
Jackson.
Yeah, before he renamed himself.
What was that? Barkley was heavy. Yeah. What's the kid at UF? Dimitri Hill may have been the chunkiest of them all.
Glenn Davis was.
Big baby Glenn Davis. Yeah.
Who was Baby Shaq?
That was Glenn Davis.
Okay, that's what.
Glenn Davis.
It's always fun watching those guys that are a little bit bigger than everybody else. I don't mean just taller, but a little wider too.
Oh yeah, it's awesome. I love it. Those are my favorite.
Something I
wonder why, Cole.
Go watch them curves.
Hey, I played 1 year basketball. I played power forward at 5'7", baby.
Oh,
I hear you.
Feed him. Feed the bigs.
Yeah, he did.
One thing I do want to note on Bay Fall is he is from Senegal. He's an international guy, just like Jeffrey Imba. He is not NIL eligible. There are some gray areas in this new world we live in when it comes to this. Mm-hmm. So technically, black and white. He is not NIL eligible. He is not here on a working visa. He is not allowed to make money. However, there are some gray areas with these kids. They can, Auburn plays in Mexico. Could he take advantage of being over there? Now, does he have a working visa in Mexico? Well, that's something I don't know. I do know that he could go back home over Christmas break and have signings over there or jobs over there. But there's a lot going on here. It's not black and white. It's not cut and dry with this kid. It's not like, Auburn's got a 7-figure deal with him because he's not eligible. They're going to have to find some gray area in order to allow him to take advantage of the name, image, and likeness. So that's something to keep an eye on, or I don't know if it's worth keeping an eye on, only because it's so complex. And it's so new that I've had 2 different conversations over the past 12 hours trying to understand if NIL is going to be a big deal to him. And bottom line is no, it's not. But there are ways that they can that collectives can find ways to get these international kids involved in NIL. So it's worth noting, and I don't fully understand it. Like I said, I'm still having trouble articulating my knowledge of it to you. But what I do know is that he is not NIL eligible. There are some opportunities, however, some loopholes. I don't know if it's a loophole, but some gray areas that schools, I'm sure Arkansas and Auburn both are looking into. But I don't think Bay Fall is coming down here looking for a number. I think he's coming down here looking for an opportunity to play, an opportunity to develop under Bruce Pearl, who has a track record of developing bigs. Just look at the NBA. Just look at the past 3-4 years. And so with all that said, I think Jhead's right. Hard for me to think Bay Fall is coming down here to choose Arkansas. Right.
Yeah. I wouldn't have gone on that tangent about his skill set if I didn't feel comfortable thinking that he's coming here to give our coaches the green light to say, I'm coming to Auburn.
Yep.
And can I ask something? You guys cover hoops more than I do, but sometimes there are schools in football that feel very good about guys, and when they feel good about a guy, they always get that guy. Mm-hmm. And there are other programs that when they feel really good about a guy, they're only right about 60% of the time. Yeah, when Auburn privately in basketball has felt good about a guy, have they ever not gotten that guy?
It has been roller coaster of confidence, like with Nick Smith, with Jalen Green, with Scoot Henderson, with there was
And with Scoot and with Jalen, it was obviously the G League that got involved late.
Yeah, it was if he goes to college, we feel good.
Yeah, both of those, and I believe that to be true. And in fact, Jalen Green said, a year or so ago in an article, I was going to Auburn, regardless of what anybody at Memphis was saying at the time. He said I was coming to Auburn. So I like, as far as and I think he's saying pegging recruitments and investing our time within certain prospects and feeling good about a prospect. I think Bruce's track record is pretty good.
When it's coming down to Auburn and one other school or two other schools, if they feel confident, aren't they usually getting that guy?
Absolutely.
You haven't woken up one day and say, my God, we're getting this guy. And then 6 hours later, what the hell just happened?
Yeah, we haven't had a Tennessee situation with Jay Hardy where they felt real comfortable that they were getting him up until 30 minutes before signature time, and Jay Hardy ends up committing to Auburn. And I think both you and Jay Lee covered that recruitment in its entirety.
Did you see Jabari almost whooped Jalen Green's ass because he didn't come to Auburn?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, it was. I think it was Jalen Green. Pretty sure it was. It was during the game, during the huddle, timeout. They're on the same team, right?
Both on Houston, yeah.
Yeah. There was a little Jabari got up and was like, calm down, big dog. But I went to Auburn and you didn't. Good stuff. We'll have Bay Fall coverage Saturday after he leaves. We'll have Bay Fall coverage up until his announcement. He is here with his host family from Colorado. We'll definitely have unofficial visitors, official visitor updates all throughout the weekend. Am I forgetting anything, any newsworthy this week? We talked Jeremiah Cobb, potential coaching change, AD search, basketball, which, as Justin said yesterday, they're going to scrimmage, I believe, next Wednesday?
Yes.
Somebody.
I can't remember exactly. I know they already scrimmaged UAB in a private.
It's like Middle Tennessee State or somebody.
Yeah, I think it's a very good mid-major program, to the best of my memory, but I can't remember exactly who that is. And then they'll be on the court at the Clam, facing George Mason, I think.
You know what's funny? I just sat there and went over what we've talked about. Mm-hmm. We didn't even talk about the football game. Auburn does play a football game tomorrow.
Yeah, I think you guys hammered that pretty well yesterday in the podcast. So I was going to bring that.
Well, we do want to get your pick, Jhead. I've got you down here. I've got 34-27. Justin has 34-21. Keith has 33-23. Zach in the back has 30-23. Cole has 42-28. Auburn, I believe Zach is still a minus 3.5.
Is it -4?
No, it might have. Yesterday, there's no telling where it went. I think it started at did it start? Started at 5. It was down to 3.5. Did it jump back up? I don't know. Arkansas minus 3.5, according to Zach in the back.
Yep. Let's go 30. I think it's going to be high scoring, very similar to Ole Miss. I think both defenses are susceptible, to the run. Neither one right now. Arkansas's defense is really beat up. Auburn has not fit the run extremely well this year. We catch more than we actually downhill attack. And that's going to hurt us when you start playing the running backs that Arkansas's got. They're just going to come in waves against this team. I think in the second half, the dam's going to break. So I'm going to go 38-31 Arkansas in a high-scoring game because I think this is another – Arkansas plays a lot of three-man front. They play a lot of 5 defensive back set. I think this probably bodes well for Auburn as far as – I don't see really any disruptors or difference makers in Arkansas's front seven. I think most of their difference makers are in the back end. So I think this sets up well for us and for another big game for Tank Bigsby. But I don't know that we've got enough bullets in the chamber to get the W, unfortunately. I think we're going to fall a little bit short.
We all went over the game on the Modcast, man. If y'all haven't checked it out, please do so. It's over on Auburn Live's YouTube page, Auburn Live on YouTube. Please like and subscribe, man. We're on the brink of hitting that 3,000.
Yes, get there, guys.
Let's do it. Let's go. I'm sick of the bull crap. Let's go. How about you this week?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's going to be the same one for me, but I wanted to give his company True South.
True South.
Right, that's the hat.
That's your shameless plug.
Trucker, yeah, shameless plug. Trucker style. He's got a couple items just started out. That's our own at the corner AU. I think it's just Moon Weagle actually.
Oh yeah.
He sent me this hat, and I love it. I think it's awesome, and I love their logo. They got the logo on the shirts, and he's just starting out. He's going to have some more stuff coming. Facebook page, True South, Instagram, True South. So I wanted to give him that shout out because he is a good poster for us, and definitely going to give him the how about you this week.
Is he in competition with Kusa Cotton?
Eventually, yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Oh,
got the outdoorsy type style of shirts, long sleeve cotton shirts and things of that nature, and the hats. So he's got more stuff coming, but he just fired it up, man. So
Kusa Cotton, True South. I'm going to go with whoever sends me a hat first.
There you go. There you go.
Eat more deer.
Eat more deer.
All right, Moon Weagle. Jhead.
Yeah, I'm going to throw one out here. How about you to a controversial character on the board in TaylorMade 2.
Okay.
Likes to troll a little bit, but he has supported Bo Nix since his transfer. I like seeing that he stayed adamant with his support for Bo. He's having obviously a fantastic season up in Oregon. So how about you to TaylorMade 2 for supporting an Auburn graduate? And being respectful in his support for Bo. He really hasn't taken a lot of shots at other people. I don't think he necessarily has to at this point. But how about you there?
All right. Keith, you got any how about yous or shameless plugs?
I don't have either this week. But, here's the thing. We have people on our board who always say that they're not into participation trophies, that it's the downfall of society. So rather than placate that, rather than hand out a participation trophy like you guys –
gee. That's not where I saw this conversation going.
No, I'm just making this up as I go. So, no, but I really don't have anybody this week. As always, though, the plug, I guess, would be the Rick Smith Performance Golf Center down there. Which, by the way, I'm not a fan of live golf at all. I think it's bad for golf. That's splintering the sport. But Doral is hosting the live tournament this week, and my guys work at the golf center there. Same complex, and so I hope they have a successful week because they're good people. They really take care of your golf swing. They really put some thought and effort into it. So Rick Smith Performance Golf.
So is Live like the American League and National League? I mean, you're a fan of the DH or what?
No, I just don't. I don't. The whole. Okay, there's a few things. I don't care whether guys take.
Oh shit! Here we go. Keith on golf, baby.
I don't care whether guys take the money or not. That's their prerogative. What I didn't like was most of the guys said that the schedule was too demanding for them and they wanted to spend more time with their families. Okay. So the minute they get into the new league, they're petitioning to still play tournaments in the old league. Okay. So what about that schedule? Well, then they say, well, it's about the official world golf rankings. I need rankings points to be able to play in the majors. Well, you knew what you were getting into when you signed up for it. Too bad. So that's my thing with it. And then also if you're taking the best players and now instead of being in one major league, they're in two leagues, I think it hurts the product, so to speak, with the main one. But but at the end of the day, who cares? You watch what you want to watch. You don't watch the other one, or you watch both, or you watch neither.
So these guys made a decision, and they must suffer the consequences for that decision.
They're only suffering because they can't currently qualify for world ranking points. They still make money.
Interesting concept. You make a decision. You know the consequences.
Yeah.
And then you complain about that. Interesting.
And somehow the whole league it became this, whoever you voted for, Republican or Democrat, then all of a sudden that determined what allegiance you had to which league. And I didn't care about that part of it. It was
almost like what side are you on, the coach or the player?
We're splintered with everything. You know what? If we're splintered, if we're bringing politics into golf,
Keith's just lobbing them up here for me.
You know what I'm saying? If we're bringing politics into golf, does that mean we literally will bring it into anything anymore these days? It seems like it. So.
Oh yeah,
Liberally, yes.
Yeah, but anyway, they're both. I'm sure they're both quality leagues. I grew up watching one league. That's the one I like watching. That's
well, you know it's your views. Some people think, you know, the authoritative figure has to say so. Some people think the victim. So interesting thing to say.
That's so deep.
Probably personal experience shapes most of those views, would be my guess.
Yeah. Hey, whatever. Hey, I've got some. We've had some interesting banter on the corner past few days.
Yeah.
And we also had, and this goes back. I got several how about yous always, but Taylor made two in Moonweagle. Good for you guys. Good. I've got how about you to William Cutting. I've got you. How about you to Junior Rosebud, who had the Charlie Murphy reference. About Jay-Z Tate. Now, Jay-Z Tate's my buddy. I love him. Somehow that was brought up last week, and Junior Rosebud said, "Where did you get that haircut?" Because I know it wasn't the men's department.
Oh.
And I told him, I said, "Listen, Jay-Z Tate would respect that comment because we're both big Charlie Murphy fans. R.I.P. Big dog." How about you to AU 8908, who said Keith Niebuhr is a 9 on looks alone, and Cole 8.5. 8.5, Cole.
Hey, I don't even think my wife would give me 8.5.
The Plainsman came back and said Jay Lee was an 8 and Keith Niebuhr was a 5. So, you know.
Fighting words.
I
think my mirror would agree with them.
How about you to Jason H., new subscriber? Appreciate him. How about you to Crawdad Man? Fantastic poster. How about you to Always Peacock? Thomas 18, Maxwell WDE times 2, man. He had a couple of good posts that I saw and appreciated. How about you to Tiger Brad 83? How about you to Law Tiger? How about you to Hegarm, Hegarmp? How about you to MRJ06, I should say. And in the midst of all of that, Landon King, coach or player, who do you side with? Man, I thought he put it perfectly. I wish I had saved it. But he wrapped up. He basically had a statement that everybody, whether coach or player side you're on, could agree with, and I thought he did a fantastic job with that. He's a very intelligent poster. I really like him as a guy, Mr. J06. Y'all look him up, follow him on the corner because he's got some insightful posts. Appreciate him. Guys, I think that's going to wrap it up there, man. Great show. As always, appreciate everybody's insight. Again, if you're not a member of Auburn Live on 3, please go check us out. We've got a lot of stuff going on, man. We're going to be there to cover it all for you. Also, if you're not a member, subscriber to Auburn Live on YouTube, please do so now. Looking for that 3K on the bottom of that. Hit that like and subscribe button. Hit those notifications, man. You get notified every time we put up new content. And, man, we crank out daily content on the YouTube page. It's a lot of fun. We love interacting. And we'll be back Sunday night for the call-in show. I think everybody here will be here for the call-in show, 6:30 p.m. Central Time on our YouTube page. We're looking forward to that. Auburn, of course, plays host to Arkansas Saturday morning at 11 a.m. We'll have all the coverage from that. I think that's it, guys. Thanks again for listening. Go check us out. For Keith, for Cole, for Jhead, for Zach in the back, I'm Jeffrey Lehman. Y'all stay out of the left lane. See ya.